On that. Alright, out there, 101 Boston Radio. It's always a pleasure on this end, man. We'll let you do your thing. We're going to sit back and listen to your talk show.
Alright, Radio 510, banging in here with 10 over. It's time, Roger. 549, Lubbock, Tennessee.
Alright, me Shane again, Gemini Garage and Mag Mount Mania. Okay, I got a lot to go through, a lot to cover. You know, this video is already almost an hour long. I could almost go another hour on the commentary on this. And you're probably thinking, oh Lord, sir, please don't do that. Just tell us what you know and then go away. So, I will do my best to do that. Like I said, lots of antennas, lots of information, so... With that, what I'm going to do is, I initially said that there was going to be two mystery antennas. This is what they were. It's a Wilson 5000 base, but it has the original whip removed. And this shorter whip with a load in it replaces it. And you know, you probably get about another, this is probably about 20 inches shorter than a stock Wilson 1000, 5000, or a Striker SR A10 mag mount. This whip will work in all three of those antennas, the Striker mag mount and the 1000 and the 5000 Wilson. The only thing I would tell you about this particular whip is because it's got this load in the middle here, you do lose a little bit of flexibility in the whip. So if you're, you know, you're probably better off, you know, if you're not doing a lot of four-wheeling or something, this is probably pretty good. You know, if you've already got a 1000, a 5000, or the Striker, you know, and you want a shorter one, because this is 40 bucks. You know, I don't even know what the name of it is. It just came in a no-name package, and it doesn't really even have a name. I came across it when I was looking up replacement whips. So if you look up replacement whips for the Wilson 1000, 5000, or the Striker, and you will see this listed somewhere. But I found it on eBay. It was 40 bucks, and you know, thought I'd try it because, again, if you've already got one of those bases, and this is quite a bit shorter, so that was mystery antenna number one. And mystery antenna number two is just a Tram 5-inch mag mount with a 2-foot fire stick screwed into it. Real simple. As you can see, it fits pretty well in with the size category here, so I just kind of wanted to try it and see what that would do. So with that, I'm going to go down the list of the signal test. Of course, you can, you know, watch all that and see, you know, the video for yourself. Of course, you know, most of the video is, you know, showing my work. I could sit here and you could probably just watch this whole commentary and learn all the information, you know, from the video that you need to know. But, you know, it's YouTube, it's modern day, and you got to show your work and let everybody know what you did and how you did it. So, again, that's why the video is so long. So, all right, let's see here. What I did was, and just to go over again where I did this, I originally kind of wanted a more open parking lot, but it was really nice that day, and it was kind of the first nice day we've had around here in a while. So the town was really really buzzing that day, even for a Sunday. All the restaurants were busy, and the parking lots were all full. So I ended up in this little parking lot behind this restaurant, and behind the restaurant was kind of a bank, and then on top of that bank was kind of some houses in the neighborhood. So I was a little bit in a hole. There was cars all around me because, you know, like I said, it was busy. So then again, it was a very real world test. I mean, it's probably a better testament to how well an antenna can perform if you're a little bit in a hole and have some obstacles, you know, than if you're just up on a hill. So with that, it actually worked out, I think, to my advantage, and I'm, you know, all of the numbers pretty much work out to, you know, kind of what you would think they were. The math is there, and everything seems to pretty much make sense, I think. So I started out with the Procom 8-inch duck, and then I went to the Wilson 500, and then I went down from there. I kind of wanted to show the contrast, you know, right at the beginning, like, okay, here's the smallest thing I got here, the duck, and then here's the biggest one I got, see what the signals are, and then go from there. So the Procom duck, that one started out, that one gave me a 6 and a 5.5. And when I'm reading these numbers off, the first number is the Striker 955 with a Tram 1498 antenna, and the second number is the RCI 69 base with the Mako V5000 5/8 way. Again, the Procom duck gave me a 6 and then a 5.5. The Wilson 500 gave me an 8 and then a 9. The Cobra HGA 1500 gave me an 8 and then a 9, and of course I'm referring to the S units on the meter. The Rode Pro 707 gave me an 8 and a 9. The K30 by K40 gave me an 8 and a 9. The Little Will by Wilson gave me an 8 and a 9. You're starting to notice a trend here, 8, 9, 8, 9. But that's okay. These are all these larger, you know, antennas up here, so that's to be expected. And I wasn't too close because they're not, you know, completely past the 9 or in the cherry patch. They're still kind of, you know, down there where there's still, you know, where you can still see a change of signal, which you'll see coming up here. Okay, we ended up with Little Will 8 and a 9. Mystery Antenna 1, which was this one here, gave me an 8 and a 9. The Hustler 100C here gave me an 8 and a 9. The Tram 300, an 8 and a 9. And then we get to Mystery Antenna number 2, this one here. And that one gave me an 8 and an 8. So we were down one S unit there on the one antenna and radio. The Shark here, that gave a 7 and a 7. The one I refer to affectionately as the Soshi Skoshi here, that one gave a 7.5 and a 7.5. So that was actually kind of unexpected for that one there. The President New Virginia there, that gave a 7. Car Antenna 1187, believe it or not, I did try to transmit on it real quick and couldn't hear anything, so I'm sure it probably did transmit, but with the SWR as high as that was, you probably had to be, you know, within, you know, 100 yards of it to hear it. So just kind of a goose egg question mark on that one there. The Cobra HGA 1000, that gave a 6.5 and a 7. The brown box one here, the iFigure Serio Omega 27 Mag 1345, that one there, 6.5 and a 7, so same as the Cobra. Again, your SWRs are going to be higher on this because it's a little bit shorter, but if you need a few inches shorter, then, you know, it'll work as well, and if you can, you know, have a little SWR to give up there. The Rally Through Glass. That one, you know, it gave me an SWR of 5.0, so I knew that wasn't good. There was really no way to adjust it. I'm really not sure what was going on with it. I just did not have good luck with that particular antenna in that situation. So I did hear it though. I did try to transmit on it, and it was right there with the noise floor. You really can't hear it on the video. I could hear it because I kind of knew what was going on the radio at that time when I recorded it, and so I kind of knew where to listen for it, and it's very, very faint. But like I said, the noise floor was around a 4 or 4.5 by the time I'd gotten around to that antenna, and so I'll just say that it came through at a 4 or 4.5, so it did transmit. And then back to the Procom duck again, and the second time I did it, I think it gave me a 5.5 and a 6. I think that the first time it was a little bit higher on one radio. The first time I did it, it was like a 6 on one radio and a 5.5 on the other, and then the second time I did it, it was like a 5.5 on one and a 6 on the other. The noise floor, you know, changed a little bit, and that's just kind of the way it measured out. But then, so that was the initial test of all these. Then I did a secondary test. The place I did it, like I said, was probably about a mile away or so as the crow flies. This first test here. The second little test, I only did a couple of the antennas. I just kind of wanted to see. I did the Wilson 500. I did the Tram 300, the New Virginia, and the Procom. and I'll try and put a little video in there of that. That was with one of my locals in the town just over the hill there, and they are 12 miles away as the crow flies. So the test from same radio, doing it in the Mustang, all that, everything same. The Wilson 500 at 12 miles away gave me a 6 S units. The Tram 300 gave a 6 S units. Again, this is 12 miles away, and they were the same from a mile away, and then that's 12 miles, and so the Tram is still keeping up with the Wilson there. The New Virginia was a 4.5, but the noise floor was right about there, so the audio wasn't good. And then the Procom was not heard. I'm sure it would probably have registered about a 3 or 4, but like I said, the noise floor was that high, so wasn't going to hear that. So.
Okay, how about it?
Okay.
What's the signal meter telling you?
5-6. Just hang it there.
10-4. How was your day today?
Well, I'm still here. That's a good thing.
Alright, I'm going to switch to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, this is the one last time you said didn't make much difference. Any difference? Probably the same?
This one here looks like it's a little lower on the carrier. Try it again.
1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check.
Yeah, this is about 6. Yeah, about 6.
That was kind of the results from the signal test. I don't think there were really too many surprises there. I'm going to move these here real quick so I can go over in detail a little more about these antennas and what I think. So I'm just going to start down here at the end and kind of go forward with my commentary on these. The Procom here. You know, for a rubber duck, something that's small and sturdy, it's a pretty good little antenna. It's nice to have the tuning ring on there on something like this. Probably, if I was going to get a rubber duck, you know, this would be the one that I would get as far as something on the small end there. This through glass one, like I said, you can still get these in this package. They make them that are a little bit longer and newer versions of them. You'll just have to look it up to see. This one was just kind of, you know, it just didn't work really very well. So it just kind of, you know, it is what it is. But that's okay. Those things happen. That's why I tested all these out, is to kind of see what works and what doesn't. So there's no way all of them were going to work perfect, you know. These ones here, pretty much same commentary as before. If you really need something that's, you know, a few inches shorter than the Cobra, these will work. You'll give up a little SWR, but they will work. The only other thing with these is the rubber bases on these are kind of inconsistent. And what I mean is, you can see this has a nice rubber cover on it. Not all of these do. Some of them just kind of have like this sticker, or this, it's like a decal on there, and it's kind of got this coating on there, but it's not really that rubbery. It's not really that soft, and you know, if it gets dirty or if it gets something on there, you know, you're going to have to find something to replace it with, because it's just kind of a pain in the rear to deal with there. You know, that's the only drawback of some of these cheaper antennas. But this antenna has a nice rubber cover on it. You can see it comes up over the edge there real nice. You know, okay, that's real nice. But now here's one on this one here, and you can see the edge on this one isn't near as thick. It doesn't come up over the edge on this one very well, so you're constantly, you know, if you take it off, you're just like I'm doing now, fidgeting with it to try to get it to come up over the edge and stay there. So that's a little bit of a, you know, once again, who knows exactly what length of coax, what type of rubber bottom, and you know what packaging you're going to get when you get that. So once again, if you can find the one that you're looking for, or find one that works, then that's good. The Cobra, Pretty good. Like I said before, if you can find one of these that hasn't been trimmed, you know, and it's original packaging, pretty nice little antenna. I mean, this is something that you could throw in the trunk or throw, you know, in a duffel bag or whatever, take with you. No one's going to freak out, you know, because it's too big of an antenna. This one, like that one, does have the nice rubber, you know, boot-like covering on here. I can't say for sure, you know, whether you're always going to get the same rubber boot on here, you know, but yeah, this is a good antenna here, I think. It's can't say anything too bad about that one there. Car antenna 1187 probably needs to be put in front of a Remington 1187. It's a very poor clone. People are probably having some problems with it, and then, you know, you type in that number there, you know, if you're looking for the Radio Shack one and you don't know any better, you're going to get that, so you're pretty much nothing but trouble there. The President Virginia, sneak around here. I can't say anything bad about this antenna either. You know, the SWR isn't super low on it, the coax is kind of thin. It's got the same kind of thinner rubber boot on here that sort of likes to come off a little bit. But you know what? Again, this is a small antenna. It's, you know, not going to stand out, and, you know, you could stick this on, you know, pretty much any car or anybody's car and no one's going to complain. It's got a light enough, you know, it's light enough and has a light enough magnet, and with this covering on here, I wouldn't hesitate to put it, you know, on a nice car or a nice paint job. So, you know, these are about 69 bucks, while there certainly is not one of the cheaper antennas of the group, you know. And it's not the top performer of the group, again, because it's something that you would take with you, and, you know, you could put it on probably any vehicle without anybody complaining too much. You know, it's definitely going to get a thumbs up, you know, from me for that. So that's kind of my opinion on the old new Virginia there. But they do make this in a regular, the older, this is the new Virginia. I believe the older version is the Virginia. There may be some other names that it goes under too. And it's a fixed antenna. This one here, you can actually move the mast and the whip back and forth. The other one is just kind of a fixed antenna there. So that's what's going on with that. Soshi Skoshi here. You know what? It didn't perform half bad. It actually, in the lineup, it pretty much performed right where I put it. So while it's definitely kind of a funky, chunky monkey there, you know, if you see one laying around for cheap, you know, stick it to your rain gutter and use it for a monitoring antenna. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little nostalgic, but, you know, they work. So not my favorite antenna as far as, you know, looks, and you know, it doesn't really have a very nice base on it either. I mean, it's just kind of got this sort of a slick sticker or decal on here, but again, for certain situations it's fine. The Shark here, can't really say anything bad about it. It wasn't the greatest performer, but it's got this bottom load here. It kind of sticks up a little bit here, so, you know, when this thing flexes, it kind of acts a little bit like a lever. But again, we've already seen, you know, how these things reacted on the mag strength test, so really not a big deal. It's only a 2-foot whip, so it works okay for what it is. I think this load, or this particular base here, as you can see, is basically the same one as the Procom, and these both have a 1.8 SWR, so I think that's just kind of the nature of the base on these things here. So moving along here, the Tram. This is a really neat little antenna here. It's got a feature that's a little bit nicer than some of the rest of these here, and I'll get to that in a minute. But this is a good antenna here. No complaints with this one whatsoever. We got the Hustler here. It's a good little antenna here. Back to what I was saying earlier, if you're getting these smaller ones, see, this one here has, you know, a smaller base on it. So if it's got the smaller base like this, you're kind of going to want the spring on it like that. Because if it's got this more of a solid shaft like that there, or like this one here, then, you know, they have a tendency to tilt a little bit more. But once again, we've all seen the mag strength test and they fared okay, so not really going to make a big deal out of that. But otherwise, this antenna seems to work pretty good. I mentioned that it's a 300 watt rating. I would double check on it because it could only be 100 watts. I'm not sure. I need to look it up and see if I can find the exact specs on that one. So double check the power rating on that one. The Wilson here, nice little antenna. Can't really say anything bad about that one here. K30, also a nice antenna. It's a little bit different. I mean, it's pretty much this. It's very similar, but it's a little bit more squared off. And the Wilson here and the Tram are a little more rounded. So, you know, not a real big difference there. You know, all of these here pretty much are, you know, the same when it comes to the transmit and receive. So, then moving on down the road here, we've got the Road Pro here. This is kind of a different antenna. This is kind of a more vintage looking antenna. It kind of looks like it belongs on the back of the General Lee on the trunk, you know what I mean? It's just kind of got that look. And I think that's because back in the 1970s there were some manufacturers that made an antenna that looked like this, but it was a bolt. I think it was a bolt-on. I think the pedestal bolted to the trunk, you know, and then this went on there, so it wasn't a mag mount. But this antenna, it transmits and receives pretty good. You know, it is kind of, you know, again, you've kind of got that tipping lever action thing going on because you have a long base here coming up. But again, this would be a really cool, I think it would be a lot cooler if they put a lot heavier magnet in the base of it. It would be a little more practical, but nevertheless. And again, I really don't like to bash stuff unless it really deserves it. I mean, you know, car antenna 1187, right? But you know, these things all have their place. Some are better at some things than others, and you might not want to put all of them on a car. Or, you know, like I said, these ones that kind of come up more like this or like this are probably not the ones you'd want to put, you know, on a four-wheel drive or something. You know, just because you really probably want something that's got, you know, a heavier magnet like this and something, you know, a whip that's very flexible. Excuse me. But having said that, like I said, you know, I think they all kind of have their place. And moving along here, speaking of which, we got another one here. This is the Cobra, and it's got a rubber cover on it here, and I can't really say anything bad about that. It worked pretty good. It gave an 8 and a 9 too, so can't say anything bad about it. So, and once again, some of these things may have, you know, they look different. They're different styles too. So maybe you've got a vehicle and you want a certain look or particular style, and you know, that's another reason you might, you know, choose one antenna over the other. Well, let's see, where are we now? We're down to the Wilson 500 here, and this is definitely the big boy of the group here. This is the ones that all the other ones compared to, and I have to say, all of these antennas here did a pretty good job against this guy here, so that was pretty amazing. This kind of has a plastic, it's like a thin plastic, I think, that's kind of glued or stuck to the bottom of here for the pad on here. And so I'd like to go back to the Tram here. Actually, if I could, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to pick my favorites, you know, kind of out of the batch here, and kind of tell you why they're my favorite. First off, I kind of like the Procom duck here. This is a nice, solid little antenna. It's been a good baseline for the test, but you know, it's a solid little antenna. I don't think you could, you know, if you need a rubber duck and you're not putting a lot of power through it, and you know, that's a pretty good little antenna. And having these optional tuning rings on something that small, you know, anything extra that you can have to maybe help tune that in is a bonus. So a +1 for that guy there. The HGA 1000, you know, I'm going to give this a little bit of a plus over these here, because even though the transmit and receives the same, this one's got, you know, 1.3 is quite a bit lower SWR than the 2.2 or whatever that one over there has got. So I think this is a pretty nice antenna here too. You know, it's small, it's got the nice rubber, you know, boot on the bottom of it here. This is something that you could throw, you know, in the back of the car, in the trunk, throw it in a duffel bag. No one's going to freak out if you stick this on their car, you know, because it's, you know, it's not too big or funky and clunky looking. So I kind of like this antenna here. I think that's a good one there. And I'm not going to just pick one. I'm just kind of going to, you know, like I said, there's 15 antennas here plus these two, so I can pick a couple of them. I'm going to pick the President Washington here because, or Washington, the President New Virginia here, because while this is not the cheapest antenna of the group, these are about 69 bucks, and while it was not the best performer of the group, you know, you can take this thing anywhere and put it on any vehicle and no one's going to complain. It's sturdy, it's lightweight enough, but yet with a strong enough magnet and this rubber on here, I feel like you could put this on a really nice car, a high-end car, something with a nice paint job, and you wouldn't really damage it, you know. So that's a plus. Again, it's the antenna that other people would let you use or you could take with you on a road trip or if you were traveling, so definitely a plus one for that. The Sochi Scoshi here, I'm not really going to pull that out as one that I would, you know, want in my arsenal of antennas, but kind of got to give the thing an honorable mention because it's been around for a long time and it still works. So, and then I'll see. Yeah, I'm going to pick this one here, that one there, the Virginia, and then after that, I'm going to go for the Tram here, and then I'm going to call it a day. And the reason that I'm going to pick this one over all the rest of these is number one, the test already showed that at 1 mile and at 12 miles, this thing performs as well as the Wilson 500. And it's, you know, considerably shorter and more compact because the magnet, you know, isn't quite as massive. The other thing that really sets this thing apart from almost every antenna here is this has a really nice rubber boot on the base here. I already showed you how some of those boots there kind of can come off and some are better than others. And then some of these antennas, like I think I showed you before, some of these antennas, you know, there's not much going on here. This is just kind of a sticker on here. Even this Wilson 5000 base here from the mystery antenna number 1. This is even just kind of a decal on here. I mean, it's really nothing fancy. They should put something a little nicer on there, to be honest with you, for the cost of these antennas. But this one here, it's got a really nice rubber base on here, or rubber boot on here, and it pulls up over this lip here, if you can see that. It comes on, just kind of comes right up over that like that, and so it stays on there really good. And it's important to be able to clean this, you know, take this off and clean it, because what happens is you get small little pieces of metal that get stuck or even just dirt. And if it doesn't have something like this that you can take off, it gets kind of ground in there, and that's where you get the scratches, and that's not good. This, you can take it off and wash it with warm soapy water and get everything off of there and put it back on there. So that's kind of important to have on a mag mount antenna as a nice base. And of course, the bigger the magnet and the bigger the mag mount, the more important it is, you know, to have a nice surface like that. So definitely a +1 for Tram for doing that on their antenna here. Like I said, that's one of the things that makes it kind of one of my favorite antennas. And while I'm talking about it, the other antenna that I have that has a base that's that nice is the mystery antenna number 2, the Tram 5-inch magnetic base. It's also got a really nice rubber boot. It's really got a nice rubber boot on it that comes up over the edge and, you know, stays on there and easy to take off and clean. So hey, it's me, Shane, aka Gemini from Gemini Garage, and back here to wrap up Mag Mount Mania finally. And I gotta tell you, after testing all these antennas, I am whipped. Nah, it's too easy. Hey, it's me, Shane, aka Gemini from Gemini Garage. Back with, I think we're finally about ready to finish up the Mag Mount Mania video here. You're like, wow, it's about time. But really, long video, but if you figure out how many antennas I got here and how much time it's going to take to, you know, introduce them and test them and everything else, I think I'm in pretty good time range there as far as how much time it took me, you know, to check them all out. So, like I said before, I was a little worried when I started the test because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do all of it. And then, you know, there was the last several months here, you know, the weather has just kind of started to get nice again. So, you know, I didn't have the greatest weather there for a while. So, it's been a long time in the making, kind of a piece here and a piece there. But I think it all worked out for the best. I'm happy with it. I mean, you know, you go on and you see a couple of antenna tests here and a couple hit there, but there really just isn't anything that's, you know, this broad of a range, and certainly not really anything on any of these antennas really that's recent, you know. So hopefully this will serve as a good source of information and maybe a little bit of entertainment for those down the road. And with that, it's going to be weird to have my workbench back, because all of these, you know, and that's the thing, you know, it's not like I could have just got one or two antennas or maybe something else and just done a, you know, an unboxing or some type of a comparison video, but no, I decided I was going to do this, and this is how I wanted to do it. And, you know, and then of course it's the first time, first video, I had to completely learn how to edit. And you're like, you still need to learn how to edit? Yes, I do, but as I said before, all new to me, and just kind of doing this one day at a time. So thanks for watching, and of course, always, if you have any additional information or whatever, please feel free to share in the comments. So again, Shane, Gemini Garage, and thanks for watching.